folks, there's also some room around here if you want to spread out a little bit. Friends, we gather together. You can be seated if you wish. We gathered together this morning to celebrate the life and to honor the memory of Shirley Silverstein. It's good, especially under these difficult circumstances, to be together, to feel each other's presence, to feel the comfort of one another. Adonai ma'adam b'teda ehu ben enosh v'achashvehu. O Lord, what are we that you have regard for us? What are we that you are mindful of us? We are like a breath, our days are as a passing shadow. We come and we go like grass, which in the morning shoots up renewed, in the evening it fades and it withers. You cause us to turn to dust, saying, return, you mortal creatures. Would that we were wise, that we understood whither we are going. For when we die, we carry nothing away. Our glory does not accompany us. Mark the wholehearted and behold the upright. They shall have peace. The author of the Bible's first of 150 Psalms describes for us in language both poignant and succinct the nature of the good life and the fruits of that life. Happy are those who have not followed the counsel of the wicked, nor taken the path of sinners, nor joined the company of the insolent. Rather, the teaching of God is their delight, and they study that teaching day and night. They are like a tree planted beside streams of water that yields its fruit in its season, whose foliage never fades and whose fruit always flourishes. Let us join together now in the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Esaena el haharim me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai osei shamayim va'aretz. I lift mine eyes unto the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. Yea, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul, your going and your coming, now and forever. Kohelet, the author of the biblical book of Ecclesiastes, reminds us that for everything there is a season, a time for every experience under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. Shirley Silverstein died early this past Friday morning at the age of 98. She lived a long and a full life, and we will miss her. Shirley was born to her parents Eugene and Molly Nolish on May 16th, 1922, and she graduated from Cleveland Heights High School. Part of Shirley's chief blessings were to be surrounded, not only in her early years, but throughout her life, by a warm and nurturing extended family. And it was family that she inherited and family that she created, in which she rejoiced throughout her life. Not long after her graduation, she met Don Silverstein, and they were soon married, beginning a 68-year union that ended only with Don's death in 2010. When World War II broke out, Don entered the service, and Shirley went to live with her parents, which she did for 3.5 years. And during the war, Shirley, like many people of her age and older, contributed to the war effort by working in a factory to produce supplies for the military. When Don returned home, the young couple moved to Columbus, where Don was employed and where Shirley created a household. And there, as in all the places where Don and Shirley came to live over the years, they developed close and lifelong friends. Eventually, Don and Shirley moved to Euclid, Ohio, where she continued as a homemaker and again cultivated rich friendships. And then to Lorraine, where they lived for 18 years and where they were the only Jewish family in the area. And once again, friendships blossomed. Over many years, Shirley served as a credit manager and a bookkeeper for a jewelry store in Lorraine. And when she and Don moved back to Cleveland, Shirley once again worked as a credit manager, now for the Kronheim Furniture Company. And all the while, she and Don shared a love of music by the likes of Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., and Nat King Cole. And they also loved baseball together, a love that Shirley carried forward even after Don died in 2010. When I spoke with all of you yesterday afternoon, you told me how Shirley would make a date with her grandchildren, pack a lunch of the sandwiches you all had requested, and then go down to the ball yard to enjoy the game and each other. Indeed, Shirley was a wonderful and doting grandmother. David and Debbie, you remember sleepovers at her house when you were little, and how she would tuck you into bed to the tune of a lullaby, and how she would make you breakfast in bed the next morning. An egg in a cup and toast with cream cheese and jelly. In addition, Shirley would always try to attend your many activities, your plays and piano recitals and graduations and soccer games, and of course, all family simchas. Debbie, you said about your grandmother that she was one of the easiest people to be with, that she never had any ulterior motives, and that she always led with love. And David, you remember how you and your grandmother would always go to lunch together on your birthdays, which just happened to fall on the same day, and that this became an eagerly anticipated and cherished routine for more than 30 years. And as recently as May 16th, 2019, when you brought lunch to her. Indeed, those very same attributes which made her such a wonderful grandmother also made her a fine friend. For Shirley was always nice, always smiling, always in possession of a quick sense of humor, and she was full of fun. Indeed, she loved being with other people. And I'm sure that she always brightened the lives of those she was with, whether it was a new acquaintance or a lifelong friend. In sum, Shirley seemed to be a social and happy person, and how she loved to cook and bake, especially to have her family over for dinner. Now, 7 years ago, Shirley began to experience some serious physical issues, especially cervical pain, which made her constantly uncomfortable, and which an initial surgery alleviated. But then came a second surgery which did not fully succeed, and which led to further pain and progressive incapacity. But Shirley always managed to soldier on, always managed to live to the best of her capacity while never complaining. "I can do it myself," she would say. Indeed, Shirley was remarkably resilient and forward-looking, and she seemed committed to greeting others with a smile. And crucially, through all those difficult years, Shirley had the consistent and loving support of her children, Lynn and Jeff. Jeff, you would call her every single evening and come to town to visit her whenever you could. And Lynn, you sacrificed a great deal of your own well-being to help your mother remain alive all those years, and for her to be able to move forward with the life she was able to live. We are all in awe of your single-minded devotion to Shirley over these many years, and we know, as you must know, how grateful your beloved and loving mother always was to you. Shirley Silverstein leaves behind a loving family, her daughter Lynn and her son Jeff, her son-in-law Paul and her daughter-in-law Pat, her grandchildren Deborah and Jim, David and Kelly, Amy and Mike and Aaron, and her great-grandchildren Evan, Jacob, Matthew, Rachel, Talia, Caleb, Abigail, and Brandon, and her niece and nephew, Sean and Kevin. She was predeceased by her parents, Eugene and Molly, her husband Donald, and her brother Merton. Shirley Silverstein lived a long and a full life. She raised 2 fine children, befriended myriads of people, added to the decency and the grace of our world, and lived to see the successes of her grandchildren and the promise of her great-grandchildren. Zikrona livracha, her memory will always be our blessing. Amen. I want to call first on Lynn and then on Jeff. First on Jeff and then Lynn, and then whoever else would like to offer some reflections may feel free to do so at that point.
Okay, I just want to add one thing to David. I never got breakfast in bed. Never. Every journey begins with one step. And unfortunately, my mom's ended after 98 years, after millions and millions of steps. It's hard to believe, but in 1922, when she was born, Warren G. Harding was president of the United States. And you just have to imagine everything she lived through and experienced. Birth, graduations, weddings of all her family and friends. She did raise 2 great kids. She got through COVID. She got through the wars. She lived through the economic depression. She sort of got through electronic revolution, not very well though. She never owned a computer. She had a cell phone for a while, and she would constantly call me that she couldn't hear, or whatever happened. And fortunately, at that time, I had one that was similar, so I could walk her through it. And here's something she did that I don't think there's many of us in this room or area can say also. She lived when all 3 major league sports teams in Cleveland actually won a championship. I was born the year the Indians won their last one, but I was only 7 months old, so I probably really don't remember that too well. And she sent her husband off to war after after they were newly married. And ironically, he was wounded on December 23rd, 1944. I don't know how many of you know that. That was the same day that Lynn was born. Plus, she went through a lot more. There were a lot of other events. They're just too numerous to mention. But I think she was lucky to have experienced all that. And we were lucky to have had her in our lives that long. I remember one time when she was in Arizona, and I don't know if Lynn was there, but we were under orders to make her exercise. So we had her go for a walk all the time. And when she went out for a walk, it was a pretty easy neighborhood to walk around. We got a call from our neighbor. Well, I'm sorry, he told the story. It wasn't a call. But he saw her hiding behind his pickup truck, which is about 3 doors down from our house. So he went out and asked Mom if she was okay. And she said, "No, I'm fine. I'm just hiding from Lynn and Pat and Jeff just in case they think I'm not walking." So it looked like she was on a long walk. He also asked me if she ever got mad, because the times that he met her in Arizona, as the rabbi pointed out, she was pretty friendly all the time. Well, the 2 big times that I remember my mother being mad, one was the first time LeBron James left Cleveland. And the second time was when her Maj friends decided that she won too much and they were not going to invite her back. I don't know if they thought she was cheating, but maybe she was hiding, jokers in her walker. I don't know. The rabbi mentioned her lifelong friends, those that she started with in school. There were the, oh boy, let's see if I can get them, the Cohns, the Weisses, the Schenkers, the Turbos, and Davis. And they would get together about once a month, and they would play gin. And they would eat, and obviously at that time people were smoking, so it was kind of an unusual situation. But a couple times my mom would say, "You know what? I've survived all of them." And they would used to joke that, they won't play gin again until the group is complete. Well, the last chair has been filled at that table. So Mom, go ahead. Just remember, cut the cards and don't trust everybody. No doubt she will be missed by us all. We will all retain wonderful memories of her time with her. Rest in peace, Mom. And lastly, the rabbi touched on it, but my sister did a lot. And I know my wife makes this comment, and she has this little quote. I don't know who the quote gets credited to, but it said, "A son is a son until he takes a wife, but a daughter is a daughter for all her life." So, then it's all yours. Rest in peace, Mom. That was hard.
I tried very hard to write the eulogy about my mother, and I got too caught up into her later years because that was the most vivid to me. And I didn't want this to be a sad eulogy because she was a happy person. She led a good life because she was happy inside of herself, and she was full of love. So whatever her life brought her, she was happy, and she smiled, and she loved, and she was kind, and she thought of others and her family. So I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. And so some of the things I want to say is my brother was born in Cleveland on Ivy Dale. And then after he was born, we went to Columbus. And my father was asked to be, they moved to Euclid when my father was asked to work for the Yale Clothing, which was a very popular store in Cleveland, the downtown area. Who's that? Talia?
She's okay. She just got hot.
Oh, put her in the shade.
I
Put
have
her
water.
down.
She does look a birthday.
Huh? Yes. Out in the shade. No, David, you get up.
There's water.
Yeah.
Here, we have water.
Tell you there's some water.
Here, here's water.
Okay.
I think the last time this happened is at my father's stone setting, and my mother-in-law fainted. Okay.
Wow.
But she was a lot older, Tally.
You sure? Sorry.
Maybe you should have written something down.
No, I got to go back to my train of thought.
Sorry.
You okay?
Yale close.
You okay? Okay.
Yale close in downtown Cleveland.
And my father loved the men's clothing, and he was working in downtown. So my grandmother found a garden apartment for them in Euclid, where my brother and I shared a room until my father was asked to run the store in Lorain, Ohio. Then I can't look at my granddaughter. She'll be distraught. You okay, honey? Tell me. Shake your head. Yes.
He's fine. He's fine.
So when my father, they were transferred, and there was a beautiful Lorraine Jewish community. But my mother really never had a home, and there was brand new homes being built about 3 miles from Lorraine in Sheffield Lake. So she got her little ranch, they planted their flowers, and my father and mother worked very, very hard. And they were very involved in the Jewish community in Lorraine, where they made wonderful friends, where they were young and had wonderful fun parties. One of them, I remember my father went as Elvis Presley, and many family get-togethers. It was a good time. And then my father, again, because of the job, he wasn't that close, the store closed, and then he commuted for many years, and he was working at May Company, and he would stay at Sean and Kevin's parents' house, Merton Lenny, her brother and sister-in-law. Only after they were able to pay for Jeff's and our college, they moved back to Cleveland. That was after 18 years. And they were happy to be in Cleveland because their family was in Cleveland. Their old friends were in Cleveland. Jeff was in Cleveland, and he was just getting married. And a first granddaughter was being born. And they're back with their old friends. And life was really wonderful. They were both so healthy. They loved to travel with their friends and be together with them. They traveled with family. They went to Arizona every year to visit their first cousins, and the family got together. They had a beautiful, wonderful life when they were healthy and well. And she moved back to Cleveland, and she went into one apartment, and then she went into another. And then my brother, thinking about this is multi-generations. Then my uncle, Mert, her brother, was very loving, and they were very devoted to each other. And they traveled together. They did so much with each other and their spouses. Decided that mom needs to move to Sherry Park because in case and when dad dies, there will be somebody there to take care of her. He'll be there to take care of her. Well, he passed away first, but the intentions were good. And after my father died, 3 years later, my mom went to Myers, and many of the wonderful friends she met at I don't know if the great-grandchildren know all this, but many of the wonderful friends that she met at Sherry Park, she met more of them when she was a widow. Widow. And that friendship carried on because many of them went to R.H. Myers, where her 7 years was really a very good time and happy time, even with the many health challenges she had. She made many friends there again. She enjoyed playing games with her friends, and Maj, and Rummikub, and cards, and bingo, and Pokino. But her most favorite thing she told me, because I asked her, what do you like to do best of all this? This is a couple years ago. She says, I like to socialize most. That's my favorite thing to do, is to sit in the living room and talk with her friends. But her greatest love, and always had been, was her family. And she loved all of us dearly. It's always hard to describe, someone, how much they love you. But even when she was not well, the first people that she would want to know about was her family, her children, how are her grandchildren, what are the great-grandchildren doing, talking on the phone with them, looking forward to holiday, never wanting to come into anybody's door empty-handed, even though she couldn't cook anymore. Always when I would have it at my house, Lynn, I'm going to come over and help you. I mean, she could barely stand, but she thought she could come over and help me. Every time she asked, Lynn, let me come over and help you. I could do this or I could do that. And then she would make, Debbie bring something or get something to bring to the house. And what I learned, how I got to know my mother, because before she was 90, she was very independent. And I didn't spend all that much time with her, except when my dad was sick, then I was helping her. Very independent. But when she had her limitations from her spine disease and the pain that she had, after a couple good years, then she got her heart failure, which she dealt with for 6 months, but still tried to walk to the dining room, having to stop 4 or 5 times to catch her breath. But it was important. It was important for her to do the things she liked to do. It was important for her to live. It was important for her to come to her children's house, her grandchildren's house. She wanted so much to come to Arizona. I can't tell you how many times she says, well, we can go to Arizona. And I remember the last time I took her, which was when she was 91. It was difficult because she was very forgetful and I was sleeping with her. And it was difficult on me, although I never knew what was ahead of me either. But then after she had the heart failure, she conquered it. She willed it. She did it. The young cardiology figured it out because I kept pushing him. And he finally did it when we came home from Siesta Keys. And from June until July, she was doing just fine. And then she developed the septic shock. And that 9 days later was sick again with it. And ever since that point, she had never been the same, physically or mentally. But emotionally, and also, I shouldn't say totally mentally, she still knew everybody. She still talked logically with everybody. After a period of 4 or 5 months, she couldn't. But she always wanted to know about the family. She always loved to be with the family. She would always be smiling at family gatherings, even though she may be hurting. She'd love to see her great grandkids. She visited her brother when he was so very sick. Many times I took her. She was a very devoted family person. And she had, when she was not working, when she had her great grandkids, she had the time, and her great grandchildren welcomed her to be with the great grandkids. And she was with them so much. She was with them for their piano recitals, for their hundreds of soccer games, their basketball games, their attempts at baseball games. And she would come at least a couple times a week to somebody's games and then kind of take turns or rotate. But when she got ill and was more debilitated, she still came in wheelchair. And only the last couple years did I not take her. After she was septic, I wasn't physically able to do that. But the last time that we got together as a family was in July of this year, when they first lifted the quarantine so the people at Myers could leave and not be quarantined when they came back. The immediate family at Debbie and Jim's house got together. We all kept our safe distance, and Grandma was really with it. She was talking, she was witty, she was smiling, she was happy. She was there for about an hour and a half, and that's the last time we were all together as a family. But she wanted that, and we did that. And can I have that white thing? There's one thing I want to say at the end.
The white folder.
All my scribbles.
That's what I asked. Thank you.
I want to say that as she was sick, very sick, she would always say, "Thank you. Would you please get me water? to the aides, she would say, "Thank you for coming," because I was there every night, and she thanked them. I was there sometimes when they left in the afternoon. "Thank you for taking care of me." Or she would say, "Excuse me." Or she would say to the aides, and many of them told me this, "I don't mean to be rude, but I can't keep my eyes open anymore. I'm going to close them." She would apologize, "Excuse me." And she would say she's sorry. My mother and I talked many, many times at night. And she didn't want to leave the family, and I think that's what willed her. She did not. "I don't want to die. I'm not ready yet. I want to be with the family. I want to see them." Rabbi Roger helped me one time when this first started, when she was so deathly sick with her heart failure before she was, out of heart failure. And this mantra continued even at the end of her life, the last few months in her life. And a couple times she recognized that she was going to die. When she recognized that, she repeated again, "I must say something. I love you so much. I love Jeff. Is Jeff's wife okay?" And I would go, "Yes." "Is Paul all right?" "Yes." "And how's Debbie and Jimmy?" I said, "They're fine." And the grandkids, and David and Kelly, and their kids, "How are they?" I said, "They're fine, Mom. They're fine." And she was asking because she wanted to know if she would leave that night, because she thought she might die that night, that everybody was okay. She wouldn't have to worry. She could go. So some things, and I know I'm going on because I didn't write anything. She would, when she was suffering, she would say to me, "I don't like to complain." Because I would have to ask her, "Does this bother you?" And I find out it would. I said, "Why don't you tell me, Mom? I don't want to complain." And even when her arms were so weak and she would cough, she would try to reach it up to cover her mouth, because that's the dignant way to do it. She always wanted to find my father and go home. "Where's Dad? I can't leave him alone. Where is he? I need to be with him. He needs me. Where's Jeff? Is he sleeping in his bed?" So she would be back in time, off and on. And what she was back in time with was those that she first loved, her parents and her children and her husband. And the last I want to say, like I said, she did live a good life because she was happy in life. We know that she was kind and sweet and caring and unselfish, and she loved and accepted everybody. I know her family will cherish the beautiful memories we have from her, and she will ever be remembered in our hearts. And I just hope that I, who learned so much about the qualities, the character of my mother over the last 10 years, will live up to them and be able to emulate some of them. I am part my mother, but I am mixed with my grandmother, who's very feisty and bossy. Like, that's what I've always been told, right, Sean? I'm the bossy one in the family now when Grandma left. My grandma, Sean's grandma. But I want to live up to the kind, gentle, loving, like Debbie would said, never judged, giving person, friendly, smiling. I want to do all that again. I want to do it as Mom would have done it. And I want to take care of all of you here, just like my mother took care of you. Now, Paul and I are the last generation. Sean and Kevin are the last generation. And we will love you all for a very long time, I hope. And Jeff, you did beautifully with your words. Beautifully.
Why don't we open it up now for those who would like to make a comment or two at this point?
Rabbi, would you like to sit?
No, I'm fine.
Thank you. Yeah,
It's okay. Thank you.
here, sit here.
Yeah, I'm fine.
As the rabbi touched on, there's so many things that I remember about Grandma. The time is too short and the heat is too hot to get into all those things. But first, Mom, you're not the last generation. You're just the oldest generation. And if you look around, you'll see you have many layers of generations beyond that to carry on the legacy that Molly and Shirley and everyone who's come after has built. But I have more memories of my grandma than I can say here, but she always made me feel very comfortable. Whenever I was with her, I had a level of comfort that was just very, like very other few ones. And it goes back to when I was a child. And so I just hope that where she is now, she can be as comfortable as she made me feel for so many years. And I'm grateful because I spent so many years with her, obviously, and being so close by. Whenever Mom couldn't get there for a last minute thing, she'd call me. And of course, I'd roll my eyes and have to stop what I was doing and go over there. But every time I would go, I would be happy that I went because it was special time that I didn't expect to have and that I didn't know if I would get again, but that I had. And also having seen her the 2 days before she died, being able to go out into her room and hold her hand and see her and tell her how much I loved her and have her hear me and understand me and be able to say it back is something that I'm grateful for. And last, I'm grateful that my kids are old enough to remember her memory. I was the same age as Matt and Rachel when Grandma Molly passed away. Exactly. I was going into my senior year of college, and I have so many memories still of Molly. So I'm hopeful that my kids, and Evan, you might have to dig a little deeper when you're a little older to remember Grandma, but I'm hopeful that my kids and my family will have good memories of her for many years to come. So, and the last thing I want to say is I have never come to the cemetery to lay stones on graves before, but now all four of my grandparents are here, and Shirley's
A sad time. It's the end of a generation. But with that comes so many blessings. And me being the optimist that I am, it's really important that we all carry with us all of the blessings and the happiness and the love that Grandma Shirley had given. Echoing what Debbie said, another blessing is everyone here is of the age where Shirley is always going to be remembered and be very close to all of us. That's a blessing. She was the most special grandmother that I could ever think of having. Obviously, our connection I was born on her 50th birthday. I like to say that's about as good of a 50th birthday present as you can get. And we celebrated that together every year I can remember. Even when we couldn't go out, I'd bring it to her so we can have that day to ourselves. So you're now the matriarch of the family. Yeah. And Dad, the patriarch.
Oh boy.
Okay. But I'm confident that you guys have absorbed so much from all the time you've had with each of your parents. I mean, you've been well on your way of being the matriarch of the family for quite some time. but the the final months and the final time with your mother is only going to make you that much better. I'm very proud of you at what you've done for this family and how disciplined and committed you were to doing everything that you can for your mother to improve the quality of the end of her life. That's the biggest blessing. I know you're going to miss her,
Yeah.
but let's not be sad for her not being here. Let's be happy that she was. I love you. We'll miss you, Shirley.
I know which one you're doing.
I'm gonna tell a quick story. This is a real quick story. One evening I was babysitting with Shirley and we were talking and she said something about where's my mom and dad? And I'm thinking, oh boy, now what? So I said, Shirley, how old are you? And she says, I'm in my 50s. I said, no. She said, my 60s? No. I'm in my 70s. No. I'm in my 80s. No. Oh God, don't tell me I'm in my 90s. And I said, yeah, you are. So that was my one bright moment at that time with Shirley. And she'll be missed.
I forgot I had something to read from Matthew, which is why I brought my phone up here. Because he's in Madison and had just arrived back there a week ago, so was not coming back. But he did type something up, and I want to read it. This is Grandma's oldest great-grandchild. Shirley was something special to all of us. She was a shining light of happiness and truly a wonderful person to be around. Whether it be memories that I have of the two of us baking, playing cards, or watching Cleveland sports together, she was always a joy to be around. And even when it's something I don't remember, like being the ring bearer at Dave and Kelly's wedding, her recollection of my now infamous line, "What's up?" always filled me with pure joy. The stories I garnered from her and Papa Don while interviewing them for my time capsule project when he was probably like, I don't know, would you say, Jimmy, 12 or something like that, will stay with me forever, and the times I had with her will do the same. She truly was a special person, and what she meant to each of us, we will remember forever. Grandma Shirley, I love you endlessly, and I'll never forget it. That's from Matthew. And he also asked me to take some lilies of the valley and put them in with the dirt, and I had to inform him that lilies of the valley aren't August flowers, they're May flowers, but I told him I would put something else in, yeah.
And tell him that she loved to read, and she loves bands and all the music, and she loves the cologne.
Yes.
Thank you, Matthew.
Get a second chance.
If anyone else wants to say anything.
Well, she was always like really supportive, everything. That says it all.
She was a love. Take her from a Makatunum.
And my mother, and Jimmy's mother would always say in front of me, she is the nicest, sweetest person I ever know. Now, did she ever say that about me? No.
Well, she was like my
I know.
mother. I wish you.
Jimmy? Abby? I mean, Amy, I met Amy. Amy. Thank you.
O God of life, amid the ceaseless tides of change which sweep away the generations, your love remains to comfort us and to give us hope. Around us are life and death, decay and renewal, the flowing rhythm that all things obey. Our life is a dance to a song that we cannot hear. Its melody courses through us for a little while, then it seems to cease. Whence the melody and whither does it go? In darkness as in light, we turn to you, the source of life and the answer to all of life's mysteries. As you are able, will you please rise now for the El Mole Rachamim? El Mole Rachamim, Shochem Bam Romim, Hamtse Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Kadoshim Utahorim Bezohar Haraki Amasirim, Et Nishmat Bat Sheva Esther, the daughter of Eugene and Molly, Shahacha La'olama, Bala Rachamim Yasti Reba Seder Kanafav La'olamim, V'yitzror Bitzra HaChayim Et Nishmata, Adonai Unachalata B'tanuach B'shalom Al Mishkavav Nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal spirit of the universe, your sheltering presence to Shirley Silverstein, our loved one who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings. That is her inheritance. May she live in peace, and let us say together.
Amen.
The dust returns to the earth as it was. The spirit returns to God who gave it. It is only the house of the spirit which we now lay within the earth. The spirit itself cannot die. Receive in mercy, O God, the soul of our beloved departed, Shirley Silverstein. Grant her that everlasting peace which you have prepared for us in the world to come. Though no human eye has seen, nor ear has heard, nor mind has grasped it, still it is our sure inheritance and our everlasting portion. O God, help us to understand that grief and love go hand in hand, that the pain which loss inflicts is a measure of a love that is stronger than death. Though we cry in the anguish of our hearts, may we know that our Comforter is near, and may we cling unafraid to the trusted hand. In this spirit, O God, do we commit all that is precious to us to your keeping, as we now repeat the words that have been hallowed by our generations, the Kaddish, as we say together, Yitkadav, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, V'alma Divrach Hirutei, V'amlik Malchutei, V'chayechon V'yomechon, V'chayei Yechol Beit Yisrael, V'hagalav V'zman Karim, V'yiru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah, V'varach Le'olam Olamei Amaya, Yitvarach V'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar, V'yitramah, V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shmei V'kudashah V'yichu, Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, Tushbachata v'nechemata, Da'amiram V'alma, V'yiru Amen. Yehei Shalom Rabba min Shemaya V'chayim, Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, V'yiru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'Romah, Uyaseh Shalom. Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, V'yiru Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and comfort all the bereaved among us, and let us say together.
Amen.
We are now going to lower the casket, and then we are going to put on a rose and a handful of dirt. Lynn, you may want to say something about the meaning of these two things from your point of view.
The rose you put in first to again say I love you to grandma. And then you throw the dirt in to say your final goodbye. We love her so much. We need to all say I love you one more time.
We can gather around.
Yeah. From first step. Mama. Look, Mama. First. Favorite color, huh? For Matthew, put this in.